thank you everybody so much for joining. This is our most successful webinar post-COVID. Almost 400, 391 people have signed up for this webinar. Already more than half of you are on this, so welcome. Thank you for being generous with your time. This originally was going to be, well, I don't know how many habits this was, but we got to 10 habits, but we cut it down to 9. And if you hold on till the end, you'll get the 10 plus a bonus at the end. So thank you everybody for being here. So 9 habits. So just before I go into it, a little bit about what we do at ProFundCom. I do get accused of not talking about ProFundCom and what we do and how we do things. Ultimately, we help digital marketers raise AUM with marketing automation. And we've got over 400 users of our product. We connect to most CRMs, both generic and domain specific. We also produce quarterly reports around fund marketing, around digital marketing, things around fund distribution as well, mainly to help marketers, heads of distribution, heads of IR, use all their marketing channels to help them raise AUM as well as preserve AUM, and at the same time, increase marketing operation efficiency. So that's really what we're focused on. And the history of the product is, we've been going 20 years. I was working in fund marketing, and I just wanted to find better ways that I could demonstrate, and the team could demonstrate, the impact the business is having, the impact marketing is having on raising AUM. So that's really the focus of the product and the focus of our business. Recently, we've done a survey on the top 100 hedge funds and their digital marketing. Our latest report is on AI and fund marketing. That's been released in Q2 and is also available for download on our website. So why are we here? I think as marketers, the investor journey has become completely digital. It's not a case now of we're going to game, we're going to fund forum. People's awareness, their consideration, their decision about a fund now has multiple touch points, and most of them are digital, right? It's all around the thought leadership you're putting out, the website content you're creating, the events you're running, the socials you're having to put out, the press releases you're doing, the inbound, outbound marketing. All these steps are happening even before people are in consideration mode and doing their due diligence on you, before you even send them a pitch deck. So that's one thing that's really changed. The other thing is, even though we'd love to have the diagram where everything is linear and everything is in a sequence, unfortunately, it's not like that in the real world. And people are coming in at various touch points. You don't know where they're coming in. And the marketer's journey has become incredibly difficult. And the reason it's become difficult, because the analysis shows us that every channel, every digital channel that a marketer uses, so social, investor portal, press, you add 15% inefficiency to your daily processes. So if by chance you've got 5 channels, which is very easy, email, social, website, investor portal, video, so those 5, and you're 15% inefficient, as our American cousins say, do the math, you're hardly actually doing your job. And what then that happens is that with that inefficiency, not only are you becoming inefficient, you're actually having to generate reports from all these various systems, and adds to the inefficiency. So the more channels you apply, you'd think you're going to get better. But the thing is, the contrarian part is you're actually getting worse. So what hopefully I'm going to do in this webinar, I'm going to take everybody through the things that we have learned over 20 years with over 400 users of our product, and distilling them to the very, very core of what a marketer should be doing. And this doesn't relate to ProFundCom, it doesn't relate to our product. I do reference what we do here and there, but fundamentally, these are kind of the cornerstones of what a marketer should be thinking about. So The real thing about marketing and the real pivot that's occurred is most people say, right, we're going to do marketing, we're going to do a website. And the number of people who put off projects because they want to do the website, because it seems like the thing they should be doing is almost it's fool's gold. It's uneducated, it's uninspiring, it's unstructured, and the reason why people are unhappy with their website because they're just building it for the CEO's ego. What really underpins what a fund marketer needs to think about is their go-to-market strategy and how they go to market and what channels they go after. And it breaks it, if we break it down, and this is, you can pick this up in any textbook for marketing. And apologies if I'm teaching you things you already know. But the key to building a great go-to-market strategy is built around narrative, your fund narrative, creating brand awareness, doing demand generation, which is very different from brand awareness. From that demand generation, tracking engagement and working out the analytics around those engagements. Which analytics do you want to pull out? And that is basically, if you're doing your weekly, monthly, annual task of your marketing, it has to fit in one of these 5 categories. Now, when people talk about the website essentially is step 3, is where you're creating demand. Most people will build their website without even considering their narrative and how they're generating brand awareness. Because if there's no brand awareness, they're not going to find your website. So that is a very, very simple way of saying, do not start with your website. Start with the thought experiment around your fund narrative that leads to brand awareness and demand generation. So that's really, really important. And those are the foundations of what your go-to-market plan should look like. But then on a daily basis, what we're going to talk about is how do you go from this theoretical nirvana of saying, well, we're going to neatly slot our marketing activities into these 5 buckets, is how do you then go to automate it? So basically, you do create brand awareness, create content, view the analytics, feed that back into what new content you write, send it out, view the analytics. And this is essentially the flywheel that you use for your marketing. Some people call it an echo chamber, some people call it a flywheel, but ultimately, this is the hamster wheel that a marketer is on. And the more you can automate this, and this is why we call it the automated go-to-market plan, means that you can essentially do more with less. Is that right? Yeah, more with less. Okay, so what are these habits? So brand experience. So we're going to cover brand experience. We're going to cover content generation. We're going to cover planning. We're going to cover data analysis. How does a marketer demonstrate ROI? How do you help sales teams, right? Sales enablement. It's a fancy term of how do we get leads to the sales team? How do you build out internal collaboration? Simply you can't. Go where to go to educate yourself, and how on earth do you deploy the right tools? So the plan, we're 11 past the hour. The plan is to go on for probably 25 minutes, which will take us to 35. There's a lot to cover. If you've got any questions, please just fire away in the chat. I'll answer them as I go along. There is a Q&A at the end. Brand experience. So a lot is spoken about brand. And brand is a slightly nebulous subject. And what defines a brand, especially as in a fund, it essentially, your brand needs to build trust. And just like this cartoon from Tom Fishburne, who's also known as the Marketoonist, who I'm a big follower of, is your brand grows over time. And the key with your brand is building your brand takes time. It resonates with your narrative. it helps with your brand awareness and feeds into your demand generation. And as you know, your AUM increases over time, as your marketing lists increase over time, as your presence increase over time, there is a natural cycle of growth. Now, how you can obviously destroy this is pretty much coming in, using an ego, and saying we've got to change. Now, that decision, essentially, if you go back to the slide about brand awareness, demand generation, that goes back to your brand awareness. And it is a really, really difficult thing to say, when should we change a brand? When do we naturally let the brand grow? And when do you completely change it? Now, what I've learned over a period of time is that, especially in fund marketing, people who receive content, and this is less about what something looks like, people who receive content, unless you're in the retail space, hugely don't care about brand and formatting and imagery. Now, what they hate even more, and again, our data shows this, is any change to brand, any change to format, any change to form, any change to format immediately creates doubt in the mind of investors, prospects, and the like. And it's very, very important to apply the lens of an investor, or whoever your ideal investor is, to the marketing you're creating. Now, I think the people who have pivoted incredibly well doing this in our world is Fulcrum Asset Management. I think they've done an incredible job with that. And Eric Sturzer as well. They've kind of slowly moved their brand into something a bit more modern, a bit more fresh, a bit more crisp. And I know lots of people do this, and there are lots of marketing companies that can help you with this, like White Marble in the UK, and I can't remember the company that Apex Partners, MD SaaS. These guys can all help you with that. But the real point about brand is consistency in brand is really, really important. But then again, there's no need to change as well. And here's an example I've taken of Prudential. Very, very famous brand, very established brand, and how they've emerged over time. And what's really interesting in these timelines, whether you like the brand or not, the average age of how long their brand, their logo has been in existence is actually quite significant. And there seems to be a 7 to 10 year cycle between freshening brands up. And I think that's something to be aware of. But as you know, articles that White Marble recently published, and their website's full of brand authenticity. How do you create authenticity in what you do? That's what the game we're in, by the way. But I do find that their work definitely resonates with me in how to position brand. But again, brand without demand generation, without narrative, it just won't work. So that's why that's so important. So that's around brand. But also the really important thing about brand as well is how, once you've selected your brand, is to keep it consistent. And I know this is just another funny cartoon, is, I violated my company's brand guidelines. As your fund grows and as your fund is established, it becomes even more important to make sure your brand guides are adhered to by both internal and external stakeholders. So that's really, really important when it comes to brand. And one thing that Johnny Ive from Apple talks about, he talks about how brand creates trust and how design also creates trust. And that's so pertinent to obviously what we do in fund marketing. So that's brand experience. That's really something to think about. And the brand experience is not your brand experience, it's what you project to your investors or prospective investors. Content generation. So we move on to content generation. So content is one of the biggest challenges, because the content that a fund manager is putting together covers blogs, it needs to cover investment strategy, thought leadership, producing webinars and videos and the like. But it really is the challenge of creating content and getting this content from managers. Now, one of the real challenges is getting into the diaries of managers, whether it's the CIO, whether it's the PM, whoever. And one thing is really, really worth noting is that when we're talking about content generation, it's about creating content and then not only creating it, but distributing it as well. So a model that we follow and with our clients as well is we've seen that one of the habits they have is they take their content, then deploy it in short form, long form, and video. The other thing they then start to do is they deploy it on their website. So all their email campaigns, all the fund updates, all the videos, webinars, all their social media point back to the website. And that's really, really important because what that enables this marketing team to do is essentially measure out their ROI, helps them do lead scoring, helps them build out automations based on the data, push that data into CRM, as well as start doing meaningful reporting for the sales team, as well as the marketing team. So it's not just about creating the content. It's about creating the content, getting into people's diaries, getting that content, putting them in long, short form and video form, using the website as the repository for this. So that's where your CMS is really important. Distributing that, and then analyzing and that engagement data within your CRM reporting tools and your automations. So you can hopefully see the power of the go-to-market strategy, where you've got the narrative, the brand awareness, the demand generation, and now you're capturing the engagement and doing the analysis. So those 5 columns feed into this. And the challenge is, if you don't have if you have the website, which most people do, if it's not talking to your, and you have a CRM that doesn't talk to the website, and you've got a digital automation platform that talks to neither, then essentially you'll find within a period of time nothing works, and then you'll change one of them. So you'll change your CRM. Hands up, how many people change their CRM after 7 years? Because people aren't getting that joined up value. How many people change their website provider technology after 7 years? 7 to 11 years is the cycle for most things in the world. Whether it's changing your CRM, whether it's changing your partner, whether it's changing your logo, there's a cycle to this. And the reason why things change is people just don't see value. And the pain of change is actually more the promise of the change of pain, and the promise of more value is worth the pain to make the change. So that's why it's so important to have that go-to-market strategy laid out and fitting your activities into that. So creating multi-format, talking to managers, getting that content, distributing it. If you don't take anything away from this, this is what you have to take away from this. So if you want to go and now you've got something else to do, now's the time to do it. Website is the source of all the truth. And essentially, once you've got the content, like Russian dolls, scale down the content, chop down the content, depending on the channel. So a good example is this webinar that we're running is being recorded. It'll then go to Elliot, who works on our team. Elliot will transcribe it into a white paper that gets distributed. That white paper is also chunked up into 5 articles that we can then distribute to HFM, OpenLS, all these other providers. And then we use that for LinkedIn and to tweet. And we use, and so once we've done that, from this 1 hour that I'm spending with you, lovely people, and probably the 4 hours I spent prepping for this, that is all going to be given to somebody else, and then that will all be distributed. And from that distribution, we'll do demand gen. People will obviously download, we contact them, we look at what works, we look at what doesn't work. It's all simple. It is those 5 columns. So that's content generation. Write once, deploy many, and have the website as a single source. Okay, so that's content generation. We're 22 minutes in. Planning. So there are lots of planning tools available. What we have at ProFuncom, we just use Excel. And what we lay out, we have monthly activities we do, and we have quarterly activities we do. And we basically set it out how we have our channels. So our channels are email, LinkedIn, Twitter, webinar, website. We then have prepare email, get approval, send, schedule posts, distribute invitations, approve content. All those cycles are built into this spreadsheet. And then we tick off when things are done and when things aren't done. And similarly with quarterly, we do exactly the same. So things like our product updates, our investor mailings. We also have pulled in something that's quite interesting that people are using, which is sending emails and nurturing people who have not invested with you or ex-investors, is building out a communication channel for them as well. And the feedback we're getting is that that actually works really well in just sending those people a different message. So that's something I'll just throw out there as well. That it's not a habit, but it's quite a good hack. I think that's what they call it. So this is, and of all the content that we produce, so we have a YouTube channel, obviously with those reports, all that kind of stuff. The number one thing that people ask me for is this spreadsheet. So if anybody wants this spreadsheet, hit me up on email or LinkedIn, and I can send this to you as well. So there we go. So yeah, as they say, you plan to fail or fail to plan. And people do use tools like Trello and Outlook, but having a single screen where everything is in one place, I think is immensely useful. And obviously, if there are gaps in it, it's very easy to pick out. So, God bless Excel. So that's planning. It's nothing more than that. And it is a lot of discipline as well. Now, I don't know how many marketers are disciplined, but there is an element of being pig-headed. And that's the challenge, right? Because most marketers, we're creatives and, inspiration comes to us, magic comes to us. Having spreadsheets and using the other side of our brain, the non-creative side, the process side of our brain is always a challenge. And that's the merging, especially if you are a single marketing team or a small marketing team. There is the discipline where you've got to put the creative aside and start working with process and discipline. So there we go. That is planning. So data analysis. So the next part of this. So most marketers will be asked at some point to create a dashboard. And dashboards in themselves tell half the story. And I'll come to the reason why. But what's really nice about having a dashboard, it very, very quickly gives you the ability to see what's working, what's not working. But the dashboards, as my good friend Will Smith says, what are you going to do with this dashboard? What next? And that has to be the starting point of building a great dashboard. And those people we work with that build great dashboards are always trying to answer the question, what are we going to do with the data we receive? What information do we need to know? So on my next slide here, I actually have a working dashboard. Now, what's happening here is the people that built this out, who are happy to me to share this, is they want to trend how their marketing is performing. So they can actually see over time and currently their marketing has how it's performing. But they also want to be able to see how does that compare to inflows into the fund. And you can actually see that there is a direct correlation. The other thing they're looking at, they want to see globally how far their message is reaching. So they've got the ability now with this dashboard, pulling and aggregating this data to see by country globally where their data is being engaged with. But not only that, they can actually go into a slither, say, okay, what's happening in, let's go, Italy, and being able to drill down into this and actually see who are the people that are interested, which are these, which companies are interested, and what campaigns are they interested. But then they can drill down further and do campaign analysis to see which campaigns are performing better and worse than others. But more importantly, which funds. So when you tag your campaigns by fund, which funds are people showing more interest in? And whilst you think tech funds are, the flavor of the month, it just seems that right now in the top 20, it's ESG, followed by technology, followed by cash funds. Now, you can extend this even further to say, right, how can we use this data to actually do ROI analysis? And you can, again, build this into your dashboard. So you can then see over time is, what are you trending ahead, people you're engaging with? Are you trending ahead or behind of new opportunities you're creating about people who are active and those that are not? So creating dashboard, doing this data analysis only works if, long term, if you in mind, you've got the outcomes set, as in which funds are working, what themes are working, what globally, how do we manage our reach, what's the correlation between marketing and inflows, what could we do better, what's our ROI on our marketing, is it going up month to month, is it going down month to month, what is that? And that's really, really useful to know, because if you don't do that, this is what happens. Is somebody will just take your dashboard, won't really say, if people know how hard dashboards are, they won't really say, actually, I'm not getting what I want. They'll just say, oh, can I export it to Excel? Which is really code for saying, mate, I don't know what I want. You don't know what I want. So let me just try and give it a go. So the nature of the beast is, yes, it's great to have the habits and the skills to create dashboards. It's even more important to know what to show and the actions from the data. And then you need to know how to export it to Excel so you can actually build out pivot tables in Excel. So I've taken the data from the from the spreadsheet that I had about our nurture campaigns, all the channels we have. I've taken the data from the dashboard and I've stuck it into Excel. And guess what? This is actually what I needed. I didn't actually need the fancy dashboard. This is just telling me exactly what I need. I need to know, are we getting more visitors? Is our engagement on our 3 critical channels going up or down? That's all I really need. And that is really so important when it comes to doing data analysis. It's not just about building pretty dashboards. It's actually giving the business what they need and having the skills in Excel to deliver that, even though you spent ages and ages creating these lovely dashboards. Okay, so that's data analysis. We're half an hour in. We've got 10 more minutes more. So I may go over. So how do you demonstrate ROI and why is ROI important? Ultimately, the reason ROI is important is because it's a good way to demonstrate to senior management how marketing is going. So one of the hardest questions I had to answer throughout my marketing career, and funny enough, in Pro Funcom, I do most marketing. It's around how's it going? How are we demonstrating that our marketing spend is actually adding value? So basically, it's the ability to answer a few very basic questions. And these questions are kind of here on the screen. It's basically how many new prospects are we generating month on month? How many of our prospects are active? How many have we engaged with? What new opportunities are we creating? And those are essentially the growth insights you get from your marketing. And are you trending ahead of the month before or behind the month before? Now, the challenge always is that you can do this and you can do it once. And like I said earlier on, it'll add inefficiency to what you're doing. And because it's not being delivered in real time, and you've got so much pressure on your own time, you end up not doing it. So when somebody does come around and say, how is marketing going? you're just on your desk or on Teams, faffing around, and you don't have the data to hand. So having a tool or building that out within Excel or some other tool, this is ProFuncom, by the way, is super, super important, just so you can demonstrate that. And the reason why it's so urgent and important is because that's the only way a marketing team will get a pay rise or more budget, is if they're demonstrating ROI. The other thing to also look at is, answering those questions is your distribution list growing? Is your content convincing? Is your content working? Are people tired of what you're sending them? And what's the quality of your data? These are all metrics that feed into the ROI and really help you trend to see whether you're ahead of the game, whether you're improving, or you're simply getting worse. Now, as time goes on, my experience is the trend of all these graphs is downward. And that is when you have to go back to those five pillars and say, okay, which one of these do we have to refresh to get the curve going the right way? Is it our narrative? Is it our demand gen? Is it our brand awareness? Is it our engagement? Which one is it? And so what you can then start to do A/B testing around that to help you see whether these are trending up or they're trending down. So this is, again, I hope you can see the power of really the go-to-market strategy, where you can start experimenting. One really good experiment we're running is we've now built out 4 different homepages for our website. And what we're able to do now is we're actually to work out which message resonates with people based on our traffic, the traffic coming to the site and the flow through the site as well. And that feeds back into our analytics, and it feeds back into our brand awareness section. And once that's tight, we can then tie that into our demand generation, because we'll know which message resonates. And we're seeing this kind of ABCD testing, not A/B testing, ABCD testing, slowly to come in to the clients that we're working with. Okay, that's demonstrating ROI. The other thing you do, once you've actually done your own ROI, is the ability to see how does your ROI compare to your peer group. Now, there are the only 2 people I know who allow you to take your data and compare it. One is us, through our platform, which is built in. And the other, I've mentioned them twice already, I'm not on a commission, is White Marble and their Beacon product. They allow you to do that comparison. I think you can get benchmark data from HFM, but you don't quote me on that. But again, once you're happy with how you are internally, seeing how you compare externally is also worth knowing as well. So that's demonstrating ROI. Coming on to sales enablement. Sales enablement is basically spoon feeding the salespeople with people they should be contacting, and the ability to give a salesperson, within, whether it's Salesforce, Dynamo, Backstop, Situate, Microsoft Dynamics, any CRM that's out there that people are using, be able to give them this data to say, who is your low-hanging fruit? Where are your cross-selling opportunities? Where's your redemption risk? What's your marketing alpha? Who are the people that have not been engaging with you for a period of time, but are suddenly engaging with you? Who are those people? And the ability to know who are the people that are active across multiple channels. So having that data to hand, what you're looking at is ProFuncom's lead deck that's sitting inside Salesforce, but it can sit inside any CRM. And this is where we're pulling all the signal data, marketing signals, and telling the salespeople who are the people they need to call. Sitting behind this is AI, sitting behind this is machine learning, sitting behind this is behavioral analytics. We don't sell people on that basis, but if that's your jam, then that's what we do. So very, very useful, and very, very useful to have that being delivered to the sales team. And it really bridges the gap between marketing and sales, where marketing is actually delivering leads to the sales team in a tool of the sales team's choice. So sales enablement, ultimately, that's what sales enablement is the ability to deliver salespeople leads. Internal collaboration. The technology platform, there's standardized process, there's knowledge sharing, there's Teams, there's Slack. Talking to people on a seminar yesterday, everybody came back saying that having data and communications in different platforms is the road to hell. And beyond that is, beyond the road to hell is just projects that are not delivered, content that's wrong, and the like. And everybody who kind of came back on that was basically saying the best tool for collaboration by far is Basecamp. And I would have to say, having spent a lot of time looking at how people do work, the ones do their marketing work and marketing collaboration and the like, yes, they're great products out there, but to get one source of the truth, Trello and Basecamp, to me, seem to be the best option. But unfortunately, if you've got an IT team that won't allow that, then it's no harm in using your own credit card and using Basecamp. It's like $99 for unlimited users. And we use it at ProFundCom as well. So, and I highly recommend it. So that's something working. No person is an island, but I have to say internal collaboration is great and starts with the best intentions. However, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So just use Basecamp. So that's internal collaboration. And, and most things, beware of how much time when you're collaborating on projects is around ambiguity, blame throwing, firefighting to the actual work that's done. So kind of build that into your project plan. So if some things are in my world, if somebody says 3 weeks, I multiply that by 4 and tell people it's going to take 13 weeks. And people will get upset about that, says, how come? And, I don't show them this slide, but let this be our little secret. Okay, use a good multiplier when projecting, when you're going to deliver something. Okay, education. Now, one of the challenges always is, how do marketers stay ahead of all the things I spoke about today? Well, as a public service, I do what I do. I run these webinars. I have a YouTube channel that I talk about this. I'm the founder and CEO of ProFundCom that do all this within our platform, but other platforms are available. Education. So where do I get my information from? And where do I encourage people to go to? So these are my sources of information. To really, really understand how funds work, I use OPLS TV. A friend of mine, Matthias, has been running this as long as ProFundCom has been running. He is a forerunner of really what fund marketing is all about, how fund managers think, and he's got some of the best brains who come on his channel. So he's the Joe Rogan of the fund world, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. The other one is our own channel, where I talk about winners and losers in fund marketing, lessons from fund marketing. And it's really focused around, I suppose, the art of fund marketing and what we've learned, and I've learned over 20 years. And the other one to learn about the basics of marketing is HubSpot. I think they've got a great YouTube channel around that. And it's good because it's very easy to consume, especially with video. So that's one thing, I really recommend people to kind of get into. If you really want to be the best marketer you can be, Rory Sutherland, books and podcasts. And if you go on Instagram, if you search the hashtag Rory Sutherland, he is an absolute damn marketing genius. And the way he looks at the contrarian view of marketing, how you stand out, I don't think he has a peer. He also runs workshops as well. And I can't remember what they're called, but if you subscribe to his newsletter, it's very obvious what he does. So he is the best resource. A second good resource as well is Chris Voss, but that's more around negotiating. But you can't go wrong with Rory Sutherland. So that's what I would say. So that's how people are, how I find marketers should be educating themselves. And finally, how do you deploy the right tool? And this is the big challenge, and this is where we're going to probably spend the last few minutes of this webinar, is the marketing stack is complicated. And if you're going from a creative to a data scientist, you now have to become a purchaser of technology. And what I say to a lot of people, when you're buying technology, the only professional in the room is the salesman. And that you're going to have to plug all these items together to help you with your social, your analytics, your SEO, your content, your delivery, your CRM. And then you're going in a world of pain where you've got to not only do that, but you've got to kind of connect them all together, right? And that is a challenge in itself. And once you've connected them all together, you'll actually find, once you've got these disparate systems in place, the cost just goes up. And there is a way, and there is a lot of our people we work with go through that journey where they will buy incremental products, connect them up with Zapier, and almost do their requirements gathering that way. And then get to a point where they have to say, right, how can we move forward without so many moving parts in a single platform that gives us the ability to have marketing operation efficiency, but at the same time, deliver insights to the sales team, deliver insights to the business. And that's where, a custom product, I suppose, like ours comes in, that kind of does the delivery, the checks, and the analytics all in one place. And obviously has the domain expertise, a very deep domain expertise in this area. Now, there's no reason why you can't use HubSpot. We aspire to be the HubSpot of fund marketing. I was in Boston recently with Dharmesh, who's the founder of HubSpot, and we were kind of talking about, and our journeys they've been doing HubSpot for as long as we have, how our journeys are intertwined, and how the break in the evolution tree was that we at ProFundCom went very domain specific and deep in our domain, and HubSpot went very, very, very horizontal. So they can serve many domains while we serve one specific domain, and their merits and disadvantages of both. So, and we can all both coexist together. So that's pretty much the process you go through, whether you're buying these products. Is either you buy lots and lots and connect them all together, so you're not even a marketer anymore, or you're a software engineer, or you take a generic product and bend it, and you pay consultants to do that, so then you become a project manager, or you can just be a marketer and take a domain-specific product. Pros and cons to every one of them, and we can all live happily together. So with that, we're on 46 minutes. I've just gone over by 5. I hope this was useful to everybody, that you enjoyed it. I've got a couple of questions come in now. It is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Thanks, Kiera. Is Twitter still relevant to the intermediary marketplace? That's a question from Stuart. I think X or Twitter, it is relevant because intermediaries are at some point getting their information about a fund from somewhere, but it's also feeding the search algorithms that you're using as well. So having information there on LinkedIn, dare I say Instagram, but that's a way to go. I don't think that's really for our industry, but I do think it is still relevant. And I do think that the way Musk is positioning Twitter right now, it is going to be the WeChat with him. I mean, that's what he's hoping to model it on. So hopefully, yes, I would say it's still relevant, whatever your political inclinations are. As a one-man marketing team for private closed and emerging fund that does not allow general solicitation, are these habits doable? They are. And the reason they are is because you've got to be thinking about how can you project your message in a way that remains compliant and at the same time even though it's private, it's close ended, is building out things around your attitude to risk, your investment strategy, whether that's to existing investors as well, because at some point, I'd assume you'd want to open the fund again or create something else. So that in itself is creating a level of brand awareness of the managers. And it could just be, the fund manager-led marketing. It could be them as the talking head. So I think there is merit with staying compliant within the compliance world as well, is to be able to still talk about what you're doing without selling what you're doing. Okay. What questions we have here? Right, Lloyd. I'm an investment manager who's been asked to look after our weekly comms on the side of my desk. So there's so much useful info to soak up. Is there any specific advice for someone in my situation? Look after our weekly comms in the sword. So it is, so weekly comms, I would say, depending on budget, record it, give it to a copywriter, get it back, and you can go on Fiverr or you can do a search on copywriters. Do not use AI. Or Sunday morning, pig-headed discipline, get up in the morning, get it done. And track engagement, because hopefully when it comes to pay rise time or budget time, you can actually demonstrate the uptick in engagement that you're having. So hopefully, Lloyd, you found that useful. Shout out to Olav. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. Lloyd, thank you very much. Here we go. A number of channels introducing inefficiency. What core channels would you recommend? The core channels, and there is a spreadsheet I've built of this, the number one channel is email and LinkedIn. If you do those two channels and LinkedIn messaging in particular, and LinkedIn messaging using Sales Navigator and direct messaging to existing investors, I think those are critical. And the reason why email is so useful, because even a recent survey says people like receiving emails because it's stored locally in their own discrete file system, and they can look at it whenever they want, as opposed to logging into a website, seeing their holdings, seeing fund information. And people are becoming more and more sophisticated how they clip and curate their own content. So that's been something really interesting that we've been noticing, why more and more people are asking for attachments, more and more people asking to please send more information in the email as opposed to less, which is against the less information and a call to action. So people are clicking on things. So there is a balance to be had. But I would, if there was one channel or just two, it would be email and LinkedIn would be the ones I'd go to. I'd definitely go to. Are the pro fund dashboard that you showed automatically driven, or are they created by a specific fund company? So the snazzy one that I showed you, which has got things moving around, is taking pro fundcom engagement data in Power BI, and that was written by a client of ours. And most of our clients will take that data, use the analysis, and kind of build out their own dashboards. Everything else that I've shown you is our product. Other products are available. So hopefully that answers your question. Another question has come in to say, what is the key to getting more budget that you mentioned? I think it's more budget and getting a pay rise, right? And the challenge is as marketers, the people that hold the budget are fundamentally going to be mathematicians, economists with big egos. And when they look at marketing types, well, they just look at us saying, well, anybody can do what you do. They don't understand the magic of marketing. And rightly so, because the only language they understand is how are you adding more AUM to the business. So it's almost like whenever you're creating anything for the C-suite or the budget holders in a fund is giving them the ability to, in their language, showing them this is how much money our fund marketing has generated. And this ties in to the whole concept of marketing attribution. What marketing activity led to what inflow? And some of our clients get it right because they're managing their CRMs in the right way. Some of them, it's difficult because they are if they're using platforms, they're one step removed from the end investor, especially so it's getting, but you can do correlation and actually demonstrate. And that really is kind of the data science part of this, or a bit of clever Excel to allow you to do that. Okay, I'm just checking if there are any other questions. Here we go. Right. Well, that seems like it. Well, thank you everybody for taking your time to join me on this webinar. I sincerely hope you found it useful. This webinar is just the last thing. I forgot to tell you the last thing. Number 10, automations, marketing automations. Marketing automations and having very specific automations are absolutely fantastic. How you can do more with less. The two most powerful automations is the ability to send out emails to people who have not responded to them a second time with content. Absolutely orders of magnitude improvement in engagement. And if you're running events, whether it's online, video, in-person events, sending invitations that are different to people that have opened the registration page but have not registered, people that have opened the email but have not registered, and people that have opened the registration form, partially filled it, but have not clicked on the submit button. Those automations are incredibly useful. If you go to our YouTube channel, there are, and just search automations, or on our website, there is a whole webinar I've done around automation. So that's the 10th one, but that will be another hour. And I'm sure everybody's got better things to do. So thank you all very much. You will be getting a replay. Thank you, Victoria, for these wonderful topics. And same time next month, hopefully see you soon. All right. Bye for now.